Have you ever thought about what happens when a company builds its whole identity, its entire reason for being around just one big idea? Not just a catchy slogan, but a real mission that guides everything they do? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into how one company, Unicity, does exactly that with its science-backed philosophy. So here it is. This is the core promise: obsessed with making life better. I mean, obsessed is a pretty strong word, right? It's a bold, ambitious statement. And by putting it out there like that, they're making it direct, pretty serious commitment to you, the consumer. But, a promise is one thing. So how do they say they actually pull it off? And that's the real question, isn't it? In a world that's just flooded with health products, all making big claims, what does it really take to deliver on a promise to genuinely make life better? It's got to be more than just a great idea. It's all about the process that makes it real. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and see what Unicity says is actually behind that big promise. They get really specific about what that commitment means in practice. So here's how they break it down. You see two really important parts here. First, innovative, science-based products. And second, the target is metabolic health. So that huge promise to make life better, they're telling us it's directly tied to a scientific approach that's aimed at one of the most fundamental systems in our bodies. And that mission, well, it doesn't just hang out there by itself. The way they tell it, it's held up by a super rigorous three-part scientific process. These are the pillars, they say, support that big promise they make. The first pillar, according to Unicity, is all about the design. They say that science is the absolute starting point. It all begins in the lab, with their own research and development team that's focused on discovering new compounds and really innovative ingredients. Now let's move on to the second pillar, and you can see how this all builds. I mean, think about it. A great formula is one thing, but it's not enough if you don't have serious quality control. Unicity's materials state that everything from the raw materials they bring in the door to the final product that goes out gets tested to make sure that what you see on the label is exactly what you get in the bottle. And their third pillar? It's all about control. Unicity makes a point of saying that while a lot of other brands outsource their production, they've actually invested millions in their own facilities. This means they can oversee the entire manufacturing process themselves. They follow what are called good manufacturing practices, or GMPs, which are basically the industry's quality standards, giving them total control from start to finish. Okay, so we've got the promise, we've got the three-pillar process they follow, but how do we know any of this actually translates into trust in the real world? Where's the proof? Now, this is a huge claim for any wellness company to make. It's one thing for a company to tell you that you should trust them. It's something else entirely when they can say that medical professionals do. And to really get the weight of this claim, we have to look at a very specific, highly respected resource. And this is it. It's called the PDR, or the Prescriber's Digital Reference. Now, if you're not familiar with it, just think of it as the go-to encyclopedia for doctors and other healthcare providers. It's one of the most trusted sources they use when they need to look up information on medications and wellness products. So yeah, getting a product listed in here is a very big deal. So back to that question, how many Unicity products have made it into the PDR? They point to this number, 17 and counting. They use this figure to show their commitment to clinical research and validation. For a wellness company, having that many products listed in a reference that physicians use every single day, well, that's presented as a pretty significant badge of honor. This commitment to science, though, it doesn't just stop with the products. The company presents it as something that extends to you, the consumer, by putting knowledge directly into your hands. It's really all about transparency. All right, let's tackle a question a lot of us have probably wondered about. This comes right from the company's FAQ page, and it's a big one. How are these products actually regulated? It's a totally fair question about safety and oversight. So here's the key thing to understand. Supplements are regulated, but it's different from how pharmaceutical drugs are regulated. They fall under a 1994 law. And while they don't need pre-approval from the FDA does require that manufacturers follow those good manufacturing practices we talked about. Unicity says their goal isn't just to meet those standards, but to exceed them. This is the kind of straight answer that can really build confidence. Okay, let's get even more specific and get into the weeds a little bit.
This is another question from their FAQ, and it shows they're willing to talk about the nitty-gritty of their ingredient lists. You might see maltodextrin on a label and just kind of shrug. But it turns out, not all maltodextrin is created equal.
The key difference here is all about how your body handles it. On one side, you've got your regular maltodextrin. It's a carbohydrate your body just breaks down and absorbs for energy. But on the other side, you've got resistant maltodextrin. This kind is totally different. It acts more like a soluble fiber. Your body doesn't absorb it. Instead, it becomes a prebiotic. Basically, it's food for all the good microorganisms living in your gut. So knowing that difference is pretty key. And this quote from the chairman and CEO, Stuart Hughes, it really ties this whole story together, doesn't it? It brings the focus back from all the science and regulations to the real end goal, helping families thrive. The argument here is that it's not just about selling a product. It's about giving people the knowledge and the tools to make a real, fundamental change in their health. So after all that, after looking at the science, the process, and the whole philosophy that Unicity presents, the question really flips back to you. We've spent this time talking about one company's approach to metabolic health. So now it's your turn to think. What does it mean in your own life? And what does it take for you to truly thrive?